don't think we're going to be doing virtual, except, you know, right now. June 30th, we're supposed to be back with all, you know, instantly says all restrictions on it. So I think we will do this as a, it's just a workshop. Well, she's a resource. Paul Cedars, she's jumped through all those, and her income 8 o'clock. It's going to be on Friday, okay? We can't help it. I'm not sure what she's going to do. The date says we're going to still be in same script. And so she did her first one. Did you see her first one? No. Okay, she did her first email. Oh, there's people here. Oh, I probably should do that. Hello there. Have a seat. As long as we all vaccinated, I don't think it really even matters. So, but we have the rules. We wear our mask. I might take this off if I'm around here only. Okay. Hello there, if there's anyone there. It's like 10 o'clock, and this is yeah, there's nobody else on.
That's fine.
Oh, okay. Where, that's you? You're on?
Yeah, so click on this one.
Okay.
Because I have to record from mine.
I clicked. It's on.
So.
Did you want to say something?
No.
Okay. No one's on. I'm just talking to people here.
Yeah. So what we'll do is you can go to your presentation.
Okay.
And then that will be the biggest thing that people are seeing instead of this.
And then I will see your desk on there too or something.
It'll be on here, so go ahead and open up your presentation.
So open up my presentation, and
did you lose mine?
Yeah, there.
Yep, there you go. And now you can see. So as people are logging on, I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna exit mine, so mine won't be there anymore. But you'll be able to see everybody here.
Whoa.
Okay.
Hello, everybody who's just me and your desk, and okay. That's cool.
You want to bring back my memoir?
Yep, here it is. In fact, there it is.
It will be nice for you and everybody to see there. You don't have to worry about it.
Let's see. What happened? I don't have life size. Oh, I can't have life size.
Just do it right there. It's
Yeah,
fine.
I can't see life size when we're presenting hers off my email.
Right, but it's still
Because it's in my
Yep.
browser.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Is it possible to fill those light space there on the screen?
Pardon?
Is it possible to fill the light there on the screen?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Probably.
All right. Well, so welcome. We'll see how much we're going to be
Thank you.
virtual next month. I have this down as the third Thursday of the month at 10 o'clock. And we may change it to like 9:30 or something. Well, this is interactive, so and no one's talking right now to the people watching us on screen. Hello there, if there's anyone. So here's the real expert,
Not
kind of behind the scenes because it's stuck in my name. So Mary Bowen Doyle. Okay, I'm Carl Cotton. And she's going to define for us. She's got a whole presentation, but she's going to define for us what a memoir.
I'm just going to go through this really quickly because you probably already know most of it.
You might want to turn this to you too, because whoever's
That's fine. I'm
watching.
reading it there.
Yeah, I just.
Oh, to see. Okay. Okay, so what is a memoir? As we all know, a memoir is our own personal recollection of our life, but it doesn't have to be your whole life. An autobiography is something that is totally actionable. Meaning, if you make an autobiography and you have things that are blatant lies, you will be, you are subject to litigation from anybody who finds it. A memoir is assumed to be true, but always leaves room for your memories being different. Memories change over time. Memories, if you have a brother or a sister and you talk about the same event in your childhood, they see it different than you do. So memoir is assumed automatically to have a little bit of leeway with that, non-actionable. So it's from the French for memory or reminiscence, memoir. Anything OIR is from the French. And again, it's assumed to be colored by your memories. So you can get away with a lot in a memoir. And a whole lot of memoirs have upset family members and gone absolutely bonkers. No dice, it's your memory. You get to say it as you want. Okay, so why do we write it? We write it because we want to either A, leave a record for our families, B, exercise a demon inside of you. Maybe you'll write it, put it in a bonfire, dance naked under a full moon and burn it. You don't know. Or you might want to publish it. A lot of memoirs commercial. So it can be your whole life. Mary Carr, beautiful, beautiful memoirs. One of the best resources on writing memoir is Mary Carr. So she wrote The Liars Club, which is about her very hard struggle, poor beginnings with a family that was seriously had issues, lots of issues. She was molested as a child, and it was her mother's friend who was babysitting for her while her mother went out and got her and set false teeth because they never could afford a dentist. And then she followed that memoir up with Cherry and 2 others. And the book, Writing Memoir, is by Mary Carr. It's fabulous. So, the next book is called Cherry, about losing her consensual virginity. Consensual virginity. She was molested. One of the most heart-rending books to read is 20 Years in Stolen Lives, 20 Years in the Desert Jail, and Mohammed Atta, who was the strongman for the Syrian dictator 25, 40 years ago. His children and his wife, when he went against his, he tried to pull a coup in Syria and he was executed, and his children and wife were stuck in a jail where they were expected to die within a year. They lived for 20 years. They lived on rotted fruit. They lived on rotted food. It's heartrending. She was this, she has a picture of her in hot pants in a very sassy pose, and she's 19 and living the very westernized lifestyle in the Middle East. Obviously, things are not the same there, and when she came out, she dug her way under a fence after 20 years and went to one embassy who recognized the name and said, leave. Went to another. She's now living in America and married, but her life is forever changed. It's heartrending. Then you find others, like, what's going on? Hillary Clinton, what happened? Because of Trump, whatever your politics, there are 8 million books coming out. They have been since James Comey wrote the first one. John Boehner published this week, I think. And Hillary Clinton, what happened? Those are about specific events. Everything very specific. Mary Carr's is about her life. Those are specific. And then Rick Bragg of the New York Times, Alabama, no teeth, etc. All right, so whatever you're going to do with them. Here's one that I would recommend anybody read because it's the best darn book out there. It's a guy from Iowa named Bill Bryson. You might know him. He's from a small country, a walking woods. Very famous, very famous writer. Excellent writer. Anyway, despite his love for New Hampshire. Life and Times of the Thunderbolt Kid is a guy who grew up in middle class, middle America. I think it's Iowa.
Yes.
Baseball, his father was a baseball columnist. He had a wonderful life. He did stupid things that kids do. Nobody traumatized him, nobody molested him, nobody hurt him. He just had a good life. And it's an excellent read. I would personally read that anyway. All right, so The Art of the Memoir by Mary Carr and Handling the Truth by Beth Kephart. And anybody who wants to write anything should read Stephen King's On Writing, only because the man is a machine. He's very dedicated. He's got a system. All right, so John Boehner's On the House is just out this week, and it's selling like mad. He was not part of the Trump administration. I guess you all know that he left a while ago, but he is revealing all kinds of things about what was going on then. So it's not necessarily a political memoir for now. Stay Sexy and Don't Get Murdered is also out this week. And it's these 2 ladies' memoirs of what it's like to be a woman in America and England. Now with the Trump administration, there's books coming out by everybody who's ever seen Donald Trump. If you walk down the street with Donald Trump in 1965, you wrote a memo. It's crazy. You'll see a lot of them. All right, so there's the FBI guy and Fire and Fury, Michael Wolff. Chris Christie is an apologist. I don't know if you guys know, former governor of New Jersey, excellent fat person, big on the beach, very big on the beach. Chris Christie hated Trump, talked about him incessantly, even though they were very good friends for 20 years. And now he's writing a book apologizing for Trump. So there's the other side of the coin. It's a lot of Trump defenders. Anyway, this is politically a maelstrom right now, and whatever your politics doesn't matter. There's 20 books for you. All right, so you have to think about, before you begin it, why do you want to do it? Do you want to do it for your kids? Do you want to do it for yourself? Do you want to just get out what's inside of you and say, this is traumatic, I need to voice it? Do you want to do it as a method of therapy? Do you want to do it and burn it? Do you want to do it and publish it? That's what you have to know before you begin. So before you begin, figure out what your why is. Why are you here? Why do you want to do this? And what do you want to say? I've had some trauma in my life, not much, probably the same as everybody else. We all have had traumas, right? I don't know that anything in my life is any more interesting than anyone else, but I think that my children would probably want to know the things that happened, because they weren't there yet. That's for me. That would be why I would do it. Anybody else has their own reasons. So you do what you want to do, and I'm done. Carl.
Okay, I get to pull this off now, Mary. I went to that little writer's memoirs thing that you sent to me. There was 3 authors, and at least 2 of them were in the mental health, because it's mental health month or something that they're celebrating memoirs for. And one of them was writing about living with schizophrenia in your household. And the other one was talking about her son had committed suicide. But they were doing memoirs for specific points, issues. And that may not be, Mary has said, you've got to figure out why you'd be interested in writing memoirs. Okay, I'm just going to go through.
I'm sorry, I think I glossed over. You can write a memoir about just one event, like Hillary Clinton's life.
My
doesn't have to be your whole life. It's not an autobiography.
Okay, let's see. I want to see who else is on, so I'm going to get back on this for a moment and see this. This charming person who doesn't want to be mentioned is on too, so I won't mention her. I guess I could just talk. These are my slides, and we're going to try to get done within the hour. So I will start this, and I don't need to see anybody, it looks like. Okay, so what Mary gave was a better definition that mine just says. A memoir is personal. It may be constrained to a single event or a time period in your life. So I'll bring up my piece on a topic of my life. And I've written some different things, and I want to be in this as much as you do. I want somebody to help me, walk alongside me, but realize that, so here's the definition. I'm not going to read it, that I went by. It's not as good as Mary's. But a memoir is assumed to be true, but will always provide some divergence of thought, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My stuff will be true from my point of view, and you have to decide that. When we talk about a couple others, they've got some fictional parts too. So let's see, let me just go down to the next one. Why memoirs? For me personally, I care about leaving a legacy. Now that may be true of all of us in a way. We wonder what we're leaving behind when we're behind. And so that matters to me. Autobiographies, I started to write something with my wife, which we call a duography. It was a dual autobiography. And my interest was different than hers, and I was doing all this writing. And memoirs, in my way of thinking, are snapshots that you want to display to somebody else, and they're pictorial. That's what I'm thinking of. So I went this way. Why memoirs? Stories, that's what I consider. They're stories. If you've read what's it called? Big Fish, that play. The guy who tells tall stories. But your stories are your stories, and no one can say anything other than that's your recollection. See, I wrote down something in my own devotions this morning. Don't let memories say to the rememberer, this is how you'll remember me. So we have control if we're writing memoirs. We can present the memory the way that makes sense to us. And, you know, memories, particularly bad memories, are emblazoned with chemical process in your synapses, and you're going to remember bad things more. So you don't have to write traumas. You don't have to write how you were molested or the teacher said something derogatory to you in kindergarten. You don't have to remember that. But you're in charge. Implementation. Here's what we want to do, I think, and this is certainly changeable because we're the group. Personal work, come up with your own stuff. It'll be understood that for these monthly meetings, you ought to have something. But whether or not you're sharing that, you can email me, you can email somebody else in the group, you can do it before you come here, or you can put something up. I might have something up, I didn't really check, from, is Jane Staley here? You or Jane? Yeah. Okay, so do I have, I can show yours later? But the idea is that we're gonna, to some degree, read and edit each other's stuff, but we can do that outside of this meeting. But this is supposed to be kind of workshopish. We're actually gonna produce something, okay? Our own things, not published out of this group or anything. You can hear from your peers, their stories, whatever they want to share, and you refine your own stuff. That's the basic intent, and how that is meted out, I don't know. Homework, expect an assignment, okay? I would say there's a natural one. You know, write something during the month. And I'm gonna say that for this next assignment, you gotta read somebody else's memoirs. And I'm gonna mention also Thunderbolt Kid.
Oh, God.
So come prepared, or give a simple excuse. Yeah, one way or the other. No grade, but there are at least 4 of us now that are former teachers.
But we're butt teachers.
Yeah, that's why I put that in bold. Failure rate. You can't fail. How could you fail your own story? You know, you can't. So the idea is that we're supposed to enjoy, and this is just a monthly thing. Here's probably the memoirs of Gene Shepard. Yeah. You've seen A Christmas Story. So he creates this fictional or pseudonym for himself called Ralphie. And so we know Ralphie didn't shoot his eye out, but came close with the BB. And this is something that I read, and it's that together with Gene Shepard's things are kind of like a vision that you might have about what a memoir is, you know, what's been done good, what's been done well. So the life and times of the Thunderbolt Kid, he's a baby boomer. Is there any baby boomer here? Yeah, that's what I thought. That's kind of our age, and he describes life in the 50s, growing up. Let's see, from frozen dinners to atomic toilets. His character, the Thunderbolt Kid, is able to atomize with his heat vision. Okay. Now I'm sure that's exactly what Bill Bryson did. He was born in 51. I'm sure he did it in 1958. He remembers atomizing somebody, his Sunday school teacher or something. She said something. On the other hand, Christmas Story is coming of age for Gene Shepard. He was a Depression era kid. So you see his dad in the movie playing with the furnace downstairs. And here's something that I could capitalize on that is a quote, and I don't think it's from this. We were working on ignorance the way some people work on the Bible. So he was obviously a student of ignorance. This is something that I'm doing. What's this? Stop sharing. I don't want to. Can I hide this? What's this? Hide. I don't want that. So the piece that I'm coming up with is something I'm calling the spirit of the metronome, and I'll share something from that in a moment. There's a Prezi. I don't think that's right. I think June 17th would be the next meeting. I think June 18th is a Friday. But anyway, I have a Prezi, which is a different form of a presentation. It's kind of like analog. Yeah, excuse me, I'm a math teacher. Analog as compared to digital. PowerPoints are digital. Frame one, frame two. You can warble around in space as you're giving your presentation. I want to give a Prezi on my spirit of the metronome, just to introduce it, not to get into it. We're not here to study my stuff or anything. The spirit, of course, is a ghost, and metronome is that device that keeps meter to music as you're practicing on the piano or doing your cello or whatever. And so I was going to present, if you don't mind, do 3 pages, one memoir on baseball. And I got to say that right now, I wrote this a week ago, and things were high in baseball in Seattle at that point, and they've really taken a turn down. So this is the way I want to remember it. Okay, so I'll read this if you don't mind. Starts out with a quote: "Ray, people will come. They will come to Iowa for reasons that they can't even fathom. They'll turn up your driveway, not knowing for sure why they're doing it. They'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past." And that's a character out of Field of Dreams, you know, James Earl Jones. So here's M's versus Cleveland. It was 7:11 p.m., not the convenience store. We all knew the year was 2021, date May 13th, so today's the 20th. We all knew it was the year the Mariners would return to the playoffs. Everyone knew Jared Kelenic and Logan Gilbert were making their debuts in major leagues, but the real news was that Paul Seward, a 30-year-old grizzled veteran from the New York Mets Armory, whose major league career was 1-14 and whose ERA was over 13 in his last professional year, had been called up. Sure, Kelenic was destined to be the Rookie of the Year, an honor the Mariners had garnered during the pandemic-shortened 2020, and Gilbert was destined to be the replacement for James Paxton, practically the ace of our staff, now out for the season with Tommy John surgery. But absolutely, the fate of the M's was the presence of Paul Seward, famous in Las Vegas, now in the bullpen. The hero is always the unknown one. Of course, you know this, or you wouldn't be my grandkid. So you're supposed to write your memoirs to somebody. I'm writing it to my progeny. So that's who's listening to this, not you. Of course, remember Garrett Morris in his baseball persona on the original cast of Saturday Night Live? He used to say, "Baseball has been very good to me. As for me, baseball is life. The rest is secondary." It had been that way since the summer of '69. That was the year of the Seattle Pilots, soon to be the Milwaukee Brewers. But I had already found baseball. I had fallen in love with the sport since Little League and years of church league softball. Every year started in the spring. Then every year it was baseball when school was out. Baseball alone. My best friend Mark, Muck as we called him, used to sing that cadence every summer. Baseball and only baseball was his mantra as well. Then every summer I'd get a girlfriend and he would inevitably accept the fact.
Sorry.
Okay. I don't think I moved pages yet. But, I get a girlfriend, and he would inevitably accept the fact that I was taking some time off to be elsewhere. So I haven't moved it yet. Okay. When spring came, like the old timer Rogers Hornsby, who's a Hall of Famer, I'd stare out the window and wait for spring. All right. Now I got it. Okay. But our personal team was the Quasars. Fast pitch was softball with all the same rules. RAFM, Ratham, we called it. Rainier Avenue Free Methodist was the name of the church. Muck was in the outfield while I was relegated to first base and became a fixture there. I was too slow for right field, that position that Noel Paul Stuckey of Peter, Paul, and Mary in playing right field called the place where dandelions die. Teams don't have lefties that pull. Balls never came out there. So you put your worst player, the last pick of the team, out there in right field. I was too slow for right field. I was at first base, where I would simply catch the ball and step on the bag. I wasn't an invalid, but I was slow. So here's the big game. And that's where I say do pictures, picture some event or something as you're telling your memoir. That's what I am doing anyway. The score was 11-11. We were the home team. There were 2 outs and nobody on. Our pitcher was spent. Lefty Warner was our coach and our steadiest and cagiest right-hander. Not a windmill pitcher. He pitched where he wanted them to hit it. He came in at the top of the 6th when we were down 11-8 and also shrewdly handled the lineup, inserting himself as a pinch hitter when the bases were loaded. He then knocked in all 3 tying runs with a double. Now it was the 8th inning of a normally 7-inning game. I was the hope. The meat of the order would be their threesome in the top of the 9th. I had to at least get in scoring position. Second base, with Darrell Reese, a right fielder who never hit the ball, on deck, and hope for a fluke and score. Could I get to second? I was a singles hitter, again with no speed. The count was 3-0, 3 balls, no strikes. And I knew a high heater was coming. They knew I was a sucker for that pitch. And on the other hand, I had taken a middle of the plate fastball for my only double of my life earlier this season at Bacho Stadium, the home of our rival, Ballard Bachos, also on a 3-0 count. I was ready. Their pitcher, Snarlface, was the one I'd hit the double off. He was not about to serve one up, but he wanted to end the job here. He would throw it high in the zone and hope for a pop-up. He knew I might swing. I gotta move that. Snarl started his windmill while I went into an explosive crouching stance, meant to ask for a ball down the middle. As he released the heater, I dipped low to give a shrunken strike zone appearance and then let it go by. Ball 4 was the call, and I literally ran to first, knowing Snarl would be snarling and fuming while I was running my walk. He turned his back to me and took the snap back from the catcher. He disgustedly bobbled the throw. I rounded first. His catcher yelled at him, pulling attention back to the plate where he was pointing to second. Awkwardly, grabbing the ball from the dust, he flipped it to second base while I slid in safe. In mocking silence, I swallowed my tongue and just smiled during the 5-minute dispute and tirade. I knew the ball was alive in fast pitch, and that's that. After all the commotion, Darrell took his place at the plate, standing off a ways to the left so as not to get hit by an inside one. Darrell's the right fielder now. It was inside nevertheless. Darrell ducked away. Strike! Backing up a little bit further, he took strike 2, also inside. Now Snarl was going to show the outside pitch just to draw him back in for the kill. Darrell just stayed away. Ball 1! Their catcher threw down to second, but I got back okay. I dusted myself off and yelled, "He's coming inside again!" Knowing that wouldn't happen. Ball 2! No throw. Snarl pretended to throw hard, practically lobbing the ball high to the outside part of the plate. Darrell actually made contact and cleared the first baseman, dropping it in front of the right fielder. I rounded third and headed home, while their right fielder made a throw up the line, so I ran across the plate to back slaps from a few. Most of the bench mobbed Darrell, who had just gotten his first and only hit on the last day of the season against the previously unbeaten Bachos. Muck and our catcher Carr came back to congratulate me on being diabolical, as Lefty said. There was no one happier than me, other than Darrell, of course. That's when we both knew it. Baseball is life. They will come home, Ray. They will most definitely come. From Jane, I had permission to share something, but so I'm going to put it up there if you don't mind.
Can I say something?
Yeah. In fact, this is you guys. So.
What he's going to show you, I wrote 8 years ago, and then I put my writing down all this time. And when I heard about this group, I opened it. And this has not been, it's very rough. It needs editing and a lot of work. But it's the beginning of my life. I did go through all 75 years of it. And this is the first chapter of all of my life.
Okay, Jane, I'm just going to repeat what you said because for whoever's watching online, it could. So She wrote this 8 years ago, opened it up again, and do you want to say something specific as I bring it up? It's in my email, right?
Right, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. How do I
I'd
do
be
this?
interested in asking you a question. Has anything changed when you reread it after 8 years? Did anything change, or did you remember something different?
Was the style of writing has come out of the say there's a lot of errors and
Oh, not your memory.
so the memory hasn't changed at all.
Oh,
No,
mine change all the time. I never know.
no.
It should be coming up. Oh, is it process? Okay. Okay, so this is what, do you want to get it here so they can hear you too? I'll put my mask back on. There it is, and just run this like a computer then. Scroll up and down. Go ahead. And while she's coming up, I might just say, if you have something you know you want to include in one of these meetings, send it to me or somebody else, or Mary, or share it with somebody beforehand. So she just shared this with me this morning when we get
Whoa.
good.
Whoa, you moved 58 times?
Yes. And
Wow.
that was 8 years ago.
You beat me. I'm 42 times in 30 years.
And I'd appreciate this, people reading it and putting in their pen marks, and helping me rewrite it.
You want to go ahead and take your mask off?
Okay, I will do that.
Up there, yeah.
All right, so Brunyon are known for their rather unusual mating ritual. During certain high tides, only the Brunyon know, along the southern California coast, slender, silvery female Brunyon swim up on the beach, dig their tails into the wet sand to deposit their eggs. The males wrap themselves around the females and deposit their sperm on the female eggs. On the next wave of the tide, the females are washed back into the sea. This event may take 30 to 90 seconds, so those folks Brunyon hunting have to be pretty quick. Normal? Moving, that's kind of the beginning, and there should be room down in between. Normal, moving 58 times in 67 years. That is an average of 14 months per address. I loved and hated moving all the time. Was I bothered now? Okay. The domicile changes were difficult, but they often brought better in my existence. My life is a product of all the addresses, the myriad of schools, plentiful friends, difficult locales, and several degrees of economic placement. I sometimes entice myself to sleep, and I really do this, it's terrible, by recounting each one of them. Every address has a story. Some have longer stories, some have happier stories, while a few have stories not so much fun to remember. Do I have to move down now?
No, she's fine.
Okay. Appropriately, I will start with my first domicile. I will admit this is the only one that I don't have any vivid memories of, but there are pictures and the careful recall from my mother to substantiate the events. Our family refers to this home as the beach house, which was situated at the end of Berlin Court, right smack on the Mission Beach in the 1940s, San Diego. The two-bedroom bungalow embraced windows to the ocean from both the kitchen and the living room. Two porches hugged the front and side of this adorable little beach home. When my dad was away on duty, the Marine Corps compensated Mom $60 a month to cover expenses. Since this was a reduced monthly income, rent was then more than she could manage on a sergeant's salary, so rented out one of the bedrooms for $15 a week to cover our family expenditures. As my sister and I were pretty small, bedding down in one room with my mom was not too hard. My sister Mary was born in 1942 while my parents were living in the beachfront house. Mom was working at Convair the company building the B-29 bomber. I know the extra income she made was extremely important. Dad arrived home with a severe back injury from a parachute jump and required hospitalization for an extended stay. Visiting hours were only during the day, time which forced Mom to leave her job to be by his bedside. I came along in October 1945. Apparently, there were many hours walking on the beach to induce my birth. Dad was no longer in the Marine Corps and held down a job as a health inspector for the city of San Diego. There are not many folks who can boast VD inspector as their father's occupation on their birth certificate. Crazy, huh? Most of the old photos that have been retained show our family enjoying the sun and sand. One particular photo of my dad and me stands out from all the rest. It embeds in my mind the idyllic life my family shared while living in this lovely little house. Auntie Star, a neighbor of my parents, provided her homemade cotton aprons complete with a large Runyon pocket on the front. On a moonlight night during the peak Runyon season of March to early June, Auntie Star would parcel out her aprons for her young neighbors to do their best to hand capture the silvery, wiggling fish on the beach. They were chased down, plopped in the pocket, then deposited in the big pot of water, where they were later processed for frying in Mom's black cast iron skillet in the beach house homey kitchen. I owe the decision for my name from this home. Barbara Jean was the neighbor girl who Mary played with in the vicinity. Mother wanted to name me Barbara Jane after her grandmother, Barbara Jane Gravely Chatham. She decided she just couldn't do that since the little friend she had such a similar name. Therefore, I became Jane instead of Barbara Jane. Mom and Dad had an opportunity to purchase our house while we were living there. The asking price was $3,500. It was affordable to them with some help from her mom and aunt. However, they were dissuaded from the purchase as it had recently been bought for $1,800, and it was thought to be overvalued. The price today for the same address is over $1 million. So that look of moving appeared in my parents' eyes, and the next rental came into play. Mom has many memories of her mother and aunts and uncles visiting us in the sublime days spent on the beach. I can't be certain if I remember playing in the salty water, or eating stale cigarette butts out of the sand, or balancing precariously on the seawall in front of the house. But I do believe my mind holds memories from my early life in our Mission Beach dwelling, with the waves crashing on the sand. I'm certain that the house has held thoughts for me to remember and began forming my life. So tonight, when I begin counting houses to help me sleep, I will probably not get past number 1, Verona Court, Mission Beach, San Diego, and of the great times my family had there. It was an idyllic beginning, but
I want to cry, like probably everyone when I read the prices of houses.
the prices of houses, yeah.
3,500.
Yeah, we went and visited, and stood there in front of it. It's gone up, because.
I just moved here from Carlsbad.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, anyway, like I said, I would like helping,
Yes,
editing, and
can I first say what we want to accomplish here?
yes.
And then some of the format. I doubt there's 10 people involved. One left us for another activity right now, but there's 10 people right here, and I'd have to look and see if there are any more online right now that are looking like you're writing memoirs or want to be part of this. And we probably will not be able to do too many up for the whole group. So some email and response back would be pretty good. But now, Jane, I gotta say something. Barbara Jane. So it was going to be Barbara Jean. It was going to be Barbara Jean though at one.
Yeah, it's going to be Barbara Jean.
Well, Jane Staley. When I got this, whoa! This reminds me of one of my summer girlfriends. She was her name was Jean Staley, and she had an identical twin called Jane.
No.
So yeah, when I got this, I go, whoa, what is this? I had to go look up on MTL and see your picture, which is kind of changed because of the mask. But so I'm thinking if this is typical of what we're going to have, 10 people, and we're going to go live, possibly fully by June 17th, we don't want to present everything for the whole group to go over all the time. So, but you've offered it. Can we get some suggestions? So anyone have any? Yeah.
Carl, is it?
Yes.
Carl, I'm Paul, and I feel guilty that I have to leave in a minute.
Okay.
But I want to tell you the reason why I'm feeling guilty. It's not only getting this good meeting, but I have to go to a Zoom meeting with the West Seattle cyber writers, which I've been doing this very
Which
day.
who?
Pardon me?
Who is that?
Doesn't matter.
West Coast?
It's West Seattle.
Oh.
I'm taking this off so I don't get garbled. So the point is, I'm cheating on it because I have been tired of Zoom. We've had this group for 6 years, but I really want to face-to-face with people that are my neighbors because I live here now. And I'm very encouraged by this. A couple of things that we've been doing is we use Google Docs to put our stuff out there and read it ahead of time.
Right.
And then you comment on it, which will take a little bit of a learning curve, but
Yeah.
all of us have gotten up to snuff. Now, I'm going to tell them today that I've been seeing other writers. But it's coming where I've come to this conclusion, as much as I love these people very close, that I would like to be part of this. So that's kind of my 2 cents worth. What I found works for me is about a 1,200, kind of what you guys did, 1,200 word, maybe 2 or 3 pages on Word, that you read aloud, or maybe people see it ahead of time, and then you give feedback on improving the quality of writing. And so this is kind of what I'm looking for. So I hope you guys are as excited as I am. I did a presentation for active learners called Getting Started with Writing.
That's what my wife saw, and it had the biggest impact on me. I couldn't make it.
It was fun, except for none of them had actually started. So when I asked, how many of you have already been working on some vignettes or memoirs or autobiographies have started? Okay, that's what I'm looking for, because I just had a feeling that none of those people did it. And I asked them why they wanted to write, and it was for the children. Well, I'm not so sure my adult children will ever read mine, and I think that's not enough to sustain the neighbor of writing. So I write for my own amusement, basically. And I'm not planning to publish it, but I've completed my memoir, and I'm really excited about us doing this.
Can I summarize a little what you said, Paul, for our cast of thousands of viewers that we have here that can't hear you? So Paul said that he'd given this talk at Active Learners. Kathy, when I get home, tell me if this is the guy. He wasn't sure if the audience identified with him in terms of actually having written some stuff. So we've got, 9 people still here. I think Kit could be the 10th, and I would count her. It looked like 3/4 of us have been writing something for somebody. So that's where we're coming from. And Paul recommended something called Document or something.
Google Docs.
Google Docs.
And
And
an email too, though.
yeah.
But you can make corrections on Google Docs.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so we can enter each other's corrections, and you know which ones you like and which ones you don't.
Reply to them and have a little chat. So it's a neat technology, but we don't have to do that. We can do that.
Well, we'll do a follow-up email if I could get everyone to speak their name into my thing before you leave. We can send out something Go ahead, Mary.
Let me, I have a BA in creative writing and an MFA in writing popular fiction. I've been published and I've never written a memoir. But let me just explain something to you. My writers group, which Carl has attended because we're on Zoom right now, is in Encinitas, California. So I'm not going to be able to be personal with them. In a short time, when the world comes back, I'm not going to be able to attend my own meetings. You have to remember the amount of people in the room. Okay, there's too much. Single spacing is a no-no.
Right.
It's up to 5 pages per submission. It's got to be double spaced. And here's something that sucks for everybody over the age of 50, which I believe we're probably all. You can't double space. Remember how you had to double space? Everything was a double space after a period. That's gone. It's absolutely horrible. At the end of the document, you have to go through and find search any double spaces and replace with a single space. Anyway, if you hand in more than 5 pages double space, it's kind of too much for anybody in one submission. So single spacing is, I mean, you can hand in 2.5 pages single space, it's the same as 5. But also with this kind of a number and the amount of time we're needing, you might want to think about forming smaller groups, like you 4 could do each other's work and comment, and you 4, and here's how we handle it in most of the critique groups. You have everybody get an email, like we said, Google Docs, and you hand in all your corrections on Google Docs, and some people like me are very analog. I don't want to go digital. I will take your paper, print it out, and write all my stuff all over the place. And then if you're like me, I have a lovely critique page that I can hand out. But yes, normal people would go digital. And what you do is you let the person who wrote it read 1 page or 2 pages, whatever they're comfortable with, and then everybody can make their corrections, go around the room. But it's good to hear it in the author's voice, and it's good for the author to read, because if you don't read it out loud, you don't catch half of your mistakes, no matter how good you are. But the other thing is, you gotta have a level of comfort, because a memoir is an entirely different beast. If you're writing a short story about meeting somebody at the grocery store last Thursday, that's awesome, but it's also not personal, and it's also not something you don't want everybody to hear. But memoir is a freakish thing, because while you might have had the most benign life on earth, you might have had trauma, you might have had horror, you don't necessarily want to give your work to everybody. So you may not want to read that week, and you may not want to read it any week. You just might want to be here for, help, personal, But given the amount of people we have, this is a lot. You can't, we can't do this without a 3-hour meeting or 5 pages for everyone, plus critique.
So the idea is that we've got to manage how this is going to work, and it's in process. And Mary has suggested that we maybe divide up the group or do some things outside.
Or do the whole thing online before we get in.
Do the whole thing online?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Gail.
I've never been to like a before. I've been writing on and off for a long time, so I'm really excited about it. But I'm not quite understanding one thing. If you put your piece out there and it's critiqued by the body of all of us, and to make it be a certain way, it takes away from the way you wanted it.
Yes.
I'm not sure that makes it your personal work.
Well, so that's why memoir is different.
You might have a personal style of writing that is not what an English teacher might want to read, because she's teaching classes.
I taught memoir, and this is correct. This is absolutely, I was an English teacher. Okay, so this is absolutely 100% true. Your writing is your own, and nobody gets to critique your style. When critiques are made, they should be made in a very delicate manner, such as, do you think maybe you can include that, or, and I've had kids write things to me that made me weep. I would go home from school and cry. It was horrifying that these poor little children had done or seen these things. And then other kids are pretty much boring like me. You should never critique a person on their personal opinions or their writings of their life. You should only critique, hey, I think that this would add to it if we could include that. And of course, there's all this English language. Do you know the kinds of critiques all? It's like line edits and developmental edits and work edits. You can always tell somebody you shouldn't put a period there, or maybe add a comma or something like that. Don't live by the live or die rule. Only 2 semicolons per book. There are people who say that, only 2 semicolons per book. Really? There's plenty of places where you can put a semicolon. Change it, make it 2 sentences, but whatever. Never personal, never personal. It should never be made personal. You're right. Because memoir is not a story.
Yeah.
It's your life.
It should represent your personal character, how you are. You want to pass on part of you. So it's really what you're passing on is the collective criticism that a body of people make. It's not you.
Right. Yeah, but like ideas are always what, you know what, you can make something so much better sometimes if you add a little background or you say something and then somebody says, well, what happened before that? Or why is that like that? That's acceptable. Saying, you know what, you were really stupid to have done that, no wonder that accident happened. God, what an idiot. You can't do that.
Yeah, can I say something about that before I go and cheat on my group? Sometimes people say, I don't really want to comment there.
Discussion is going on.
Sometimes they say, you know, that's a big part of the story. But most of the time they say, I hadn't thought about that. That's a good suggestion. And nobody gets offended. Because they trust and build up.
Oh, you get offended, you just don't show it.
Yeah, that's right.
You get offended. You
Yeah.
just
Thank
don't.
you guys all the
Thanks,
time. Sure.
There's an extra glass of wine in it that night, or else you kick things around your house around, you know.
Well, I didn't mean to imply that. I can't take criticism at all. I'm just curious about what the little boundary is. I've never done this.
The boundary is whatever you want it to be, and if it's very personal, you don't read it. Or you don't even hand it out.
Jane, you don't have to put that down, because I know who you are. I'm sitting around my phone, sorry to interrupt. I'm sitting around my phone so I can get the names of everybody that wants to put it down. Then we got each other on MTL directory. So, and you wanted to say something?
Yes, my name is Paul Seeger, and I have started the genealogy club. So if anybody's interested in also doing that or doing that, you know, in conjunction with it, the presentation that I'm doing at 10 o'clock on Friday the 28th is all on how to write your own family story. So taking all the research that you've done, all the information you have, and turning it into a book. So if you want to check it out, it's on the club under genealogy.
Okay, so that was a plug, and since she plugged me, I have to say it too. Kyle's sister-in-law, Paula Seeger, is doing a genealogy 10 o'clock Friday, May 28th, the second session, and it's going to be talking about writing autobiographies. So, and what? And family history, and her first, yeah, I'll talk about that my own later, but did you get everything you wanted to say said?
Yeah, I was curious about how.
Okay, and I got your name, so you don't have to.
So trust is the huge issue, and that should be with everyone.
Oh, I'm going to.
No, I didn't understand what you said about, you can't do double space.
I know.
I use Word, it double spaces.
Only if you set it on double space. You can set it on single, 1.5, 2, 2.5.
So.
But the point is, when you're giving somebody something to critique, you have to remember that if you give somebody 5 pages single space, you're giving them 10.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the rudeness issue. It's not that you need to be rude, it's that, for instance, at my age, when I went back for an MFA, you can't believe the things I didn't know. I mean, I would have these kids who could be my kids I could have taught in the classroom, telling me about, oh, you're that age. And some of them were being harsh with me about the double spacing. This is what we were taught. If you were taught, you either learned on an electric typewriter if you were lucky, or you might have learned on a manual. You double space after a period. So yeah, but with the amount of information you're going to ask somebody to look at with all of the people here, I don't know about you. I am not employed right now, and let me tell you, I can't afford to do 20 people's 5 pages all the time. Some weeks I'll be grateful because I want to avoid other things.
You guys are doing a lot better than what I anticipated, so that's cool. I was going to do a show of hands for some things. How many of us are retired? That's like 100%. You don't have to see who online raise their hands, but Yeah, so Memoirs has a separate, we're writing about the past being wizened by our present situation, okay? So that means something. Any other things that you'd like to talk about? We're supposed to be done, we're right on time, so any other things that you'd like to bring up?
I'm not excited enough.
Okay, so another show of hands. So Mary's from San Diego.
Brooklyn.
Huh?
I'm from Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's why you have that San Diego accent in there. And you were from where, Paula? I mean, Jane? Where?
Oh, you're from La Jolla?
La Jolla.
Oh, my
Oh,
girlfriend
wow.
is head of the business association there.
And Paula, where are you from?
Minnesota.
Oh, okay. So we all have different perspectives. How many are from around here, kind of? Now, I'm the only one raising my hand from around here. Okay? So, you know, that gives us, coming to these meetings, we're going to get some insight on Iowa or wherever the Thunderbolt kid was from. I was thinking it was Indiana, maybe. But, yeah, we're going to get some different ideas. Gene Shepard was from Midwest.
Ohio,
somewhere.
I think.
Yeah. So, yeah. Would you like to ask something of everybody? Would you have a question? Yeah.
I'd like to have everybody introduce themselves.
Okay. I've got names now. So, I've got names. Okay. So, yeah. Well, I'm going to go around and introduce ourselves. Just do that.
Okay, well,
And say something about yourself. Whatever. I mean, you're not Memoir.
from Newport Beach, but I spent most of my life in Northern California.
Oh.
I was the one in the last couple of years wrote the first columns in the Land Above about ocean things. And I've about 30.
We're now sharing about each other. You can turn this off if you don't, you're not going to hear anything anymore.
I'm really
You're 30 pages ahead of me. I'm still finishing a book right now. It's been over a year.
Publishing is hard. I went to a bunch of conventions about publishing for children, and all we wanted to do was know about my social media platform and all the things like that. I said, you know what?
I have a class for you
I
here
didn't
at the
fit
farm,
that.
but they don't do anything for you anymore. You have to do all of it.
Yeah, it was very frustrating.
We have an extremely famous author here in Trilogy, and I'm not going to say who it is because that's not.
Oh, yeah.
We have an extraordinarily famous author here. And boy, the things that they have to do is scary. I don't have the time for them. And I especially don't have any media technology info.
Yeah. Hard.
It is hard. It's very horrible.
I'm done with this, I think. I don't know how. Yeah, I'm hanging up.